The midday air at Bangkok's Or Tor Kor Market was heavy with the scent of grilled chicken and ripe mangoes. Tourists haggled. Vendors shouted. Children darted between aisles. It was the kind of day that felt safe, ordinary, until the first shot rang out. Pop, pop, pop. Screams sliced through the marketplace. Shoppers dropped their bags, ducking behind fruit stalls. A woman clutched her child and hit the ground. When the chaos finally stopped, 5 people lay dead. 2 more were bleeding on the floor. And on a bench near the far end of the market, a man in a black t-shirt and camouflage shorts sat slumped over, a pistol hanging loosely in his hand. He wasn't fleeing. He wasn't fighting. He was already dead. And as police moved in, one question echoed louder than the gunfire. Why would a man who once protected this market return to destroy it? To understand this massacre, we have to go back. The shooter was 61-year-old Channarong Wisetsin, a former security guard at Or Tor Kor Market. To most, he was invisible. He wasn't loud. He didn't argue. He simply stood at his post, day after day, making sure the market ran smoothly. He used to help tourists find the restrooms, said Dao, a longtime vendor who sold fried fish and lotus soup. If there was trouble, he was the first to step in. He used to smile, and then he didn't. Channarong's story wasn't one of sudden rage, it was a slow erosion. In 2019, he reportedly dated Dao. Their relationship was quiet, private, and ultimately short-lived. After they split, whispers began to follow him. A younger guard, louder, more popular, teased him. Vendors started talking. Channarong, already isolated, grew withdrawn. By 2020, he was fired after an explosive argument with a coworker. But even after he was gone, he didn't really leave. He'd come back, Dao told police later. Not to talk, he'd just watch. Customers would see him sitting near the edge of the market, silent, staring at his former post. And no one stopped him. Monday, July 28, 2025. The heat was brutal. The lunch rush had just begun. Vendors wiped sweat from their brows, fanning themselves with cardboard as tourists queued for coconut ice cream. Then he came back. Black t-shirt, camouflage shorts, a rucksack slung over his shoulder. No badge, no uniform. At 12:38 p.m., witnesses saw him pause at the security checkpoint. He didn't shout. He didn't warn anyone. He just reached into his bag and pulled out a pistol. The first shots took down 3 security guards instantly. Chaos erupted. Dao, standing just 2 stalls away, tried to run. She didn't make it. A bystander, a young woman buying fruit, was caught in the crossfire. People were screaming, hiding under tables. One witness told local news. I grabbed my daughter and held her. We didn't move. And then, silence. Channarong walked calmly to a bench, sat down, and put the gun to his own head. One last shot. Bang Sue police arrived minutes later to a scene of horror. 5 dead, 2 wounded, and the gunman dead by his own hand. The initial question was motive. Deputy Police Chief Warapat Suktai told reporters. We believe this was personal. So far, it's a mass shooting. Inside Channarong's rucksack, police found extra ammunition, a bottle of water, a single photograph of a security guard. On the back, scrawled in black marker. You started this. Next to it was a folded note. No name, no signature, just a chilling line. They humiliated me. They laughed. No one listened. Investigators dug into his past. They learned of the failed relationship with Dao, the conflict with his coworker, the firing that left him bitter and humiliated. A former colleague admitted. He thought everyone was talking about him. He couldn't let it go. The gun? Purchased illegally. Police traced it to a black market deal, proving this wasn't impulsive. It was planned. Surveillance footage showed he had been visiting the market in the weeks leading up to the shooting, always at the same time, always watching. One vendor recalled, I saw him just sitting there. No food, no drink, just staring, like he was counting down. The investigation painted a haunting picture. This wasn't random violence. This was a man whose anger had been simmering for years. In the days after the shooting, the market was shut down. Vendors lit incense sticks. Dao's cousin placed lotus flowers by her stall. "She loved this place," he said. "She didn't deserve to die here." Channarong's body went unclaimed for 3 days. When police entered his apartment, they found only a mattress, a few cans of soup, and a calendar. One date was circled in red, July 28th. National media branded him the ghost of Or Tor Kor. Psychologists called it a collapse in plain sight, a case where warning signs, his isolation, his anger, were noticed but never acted upon. In response, Bangkok authorities increased security at public markets. Vendors were offered mental health resources. But for those who survived, it was too late. One of the wounded guards, from his hospital bed, told reporters. "He looked at me, for a second, like he didn't want to do it. But then he pulled the trigger." This wasn't a terrorist attack. It wasn't political. It was personal. A man who once guarded the gates of the market came back, not as its protector, but as the storm that would tear it apart. At 12:38 p.m. every day, some vendors still pause. The sound of that first shot still lives in their minds. Because the scariest monsters aren't always strangers. Sometimes, they're the people you once trusted to keep you safe. He wasn't a monster in the beginning. That's what makes the story so unsettling. Before the blood, before the headlines, before Or Tor Kor Market was turned into a crime scene, Channarong Wisetsin was just another man trying to hold his world together. But somewhere along the way, something inside him snapped. And if you want to understand the market massacre, you can't just look at the crime scene. You have to look inside the mind of the man who pulled the trigger. When investigators searched his apartment, they found no signs of madness. No walls covered in newspaper clippings. No rant scrawled in red ink. Just silence. A mattress. A few cans of soup. And a calendar with one date circled in red, July 28th. Forensic psychologists later called it a slow burn collapse. Dr. Ananda Fromkai, a Bangkok-based criminal psychologist, explained it best. This wasn't a sudden explosion. It was years of humiliation, isolation, and quiet resentment until he turned that anger outward. Channarong's world had been shrinking for years. Fired from his job, estranged from friends. His only real connection, a quiet relationship with Dao, had ended. When the teasing at work began, it wasn't just workplace gossip. To him, it was proof that the world was laughing at him. When a person believes they've been erased, Dr. Ananda said, they'll do anything to make themselves seen again. And that's exactly what Channarong did. The shooting didn't just take 5 lives. It shattered a community that prided itself on safety. Or Tor Kor Market, once a place of laughter and family lunches, was now a crime scene. Vendors came back days later, stepping over freshly scrubbed tiles. The chalk outlines were gone, but the fear wasn't. One fruit seller admitted, "Every time I hear a loud noise, I freeze. I see him sitting on that bench. Like he's still here." Parents started keeping their children closer. Some vendors even talked about leaving the market entirely. Police presence increased, but so did suspicion. If a man like Channarong, someone everyone knew, could do this, what did that mean for the people standing next to you in line? Channarong didn't leave a manifesto. He didn't post cryptic messages online. But the note he left behind was chilling in its simplicity. "They humiliated me. They laughed. No one listened." Those 4 sentences told a story of a man who felt erased by the world until the only way to be seen was through violence. Experts call this narcissistic injury, a deep wound to one's self-worth that festers in isolation. When humiliation becomes identity, Dr. Ananda said, it doesn't fade. Calcifies. It becomes the lens through which every slight is magnified until revenge feels like the only way out. For Channarong, the market wasn't just a place to shop. It was his stage, his revenge, his way of saying, "I mattered." The aftermath rippled beyond the market. News broadcasts replayed the footage endlessly, police tape, crying families, the bench where Channarong's body slumped. Every shot deepened a collective wound. Counselors were brought in for vendors and witnesses. Children who had seen the shooting developed night terrors. "He was supposed to protect us," one surviving guard told reporters. Now I don't trust anyone in a uniform. This was the real second tragedy of the Or Tor Kor Massacre. It didn't just kill people. It killed a sense of safety. Could it have been stopped? Police admitted there were no formal complaints against Channarong, but witnesses remembered his behavior in the weeks before. Sitting in the market for hours without speaking, staring at guards, avoiding eye contact when approached. "We thought he was just lonely," Dao's cousin said. "If we'd known." But that's the thing about hindsight. It's always clear when it's too late. After the shooting, Bangkok authorities overhauled market security. Guards were trained to spot signs of distress, not just threats. Mental health hotlines were posted in staff rooms. But for many, it felt like patching a wound after the patient had already bled out. "We can't bring back the dead," one vendor said. "We can only pray we see the next one before it happens." Channarong Wisetsin will be remembered not just for the bullets he fired, but for the silence that came before them. He was a man no one truly saw until it was too late. And maybe that's the most terrifying lesson of all. Because in every crowd, every market, every ordinary day, there's always someone sitting quietly on the edge, waiting to be noticed.